Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Caught on the Mic. And today's guest is a band that has quietly built one of the most loyal fan bases in modern indie pop. The Strike, with their signature blend of yacht rock nostalgia, 80s inspired shine, and undeniable hooks, they're back with a brand new single, Famous. We're talking origins, evolutions, and how they've stayed true to themselves in a world chasing attention. Joining me on the pod today is Chris, the vocalist, and Jay, the drummer of The Strike. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, Mike.
It is going fantastic. I am so excited to talk with you guys. I'm actually a newer fan. You guys have come to me just recently. Let's get right into it. You guys are all California guys, but the band originally formed in Utah. Take me back to the beginning. How did this whole thing come together?
Yeah, the band formed in Utah. Jay and I went to college together and working a day job. I had just graduated and I was working at a tech company and playing on the weekends, weddings and corporate events, cover gigs pretty much. And had a buddy who wanted to start an original project. And he was pretty persistent. And eventually I kind of acquiesced and agreed to do it. And wrote a few songs, and played a show in Provo where BYU is at. And, I had been in like original projects before, but I could kind of tell that there was something unique about The Strike and about, this attempt at sort of an original thing. And it wasn't very long before I got totally like obsessed with the band and wanted to pursue it in a more meaningful way. And Jay wasn't at the band at that time quite yet, but Jay and I were really good friends and we're roommates. And so a few years later, the original drummer kind of dropped off and went on to pursue other things. And Jay came in as the drummer and another creative force in the band. And that's kind of how we started out in Utah.
So what did those early days sound like? And when did you guys feel like you had your sound?
Yeah, the early sound was completely different. We just kind of had a bunch of guys who were fresh out of music school, who were doing cover gigs and wanted to write music and do something original. And the original sound was kind of like, I don't even know what you'd call it, maybe like a little big bandy, had like some various elements, like some funk elements in there and stuff. And just totally different. And after the band began to gain a little bit of a following, I kind of had to step back for a minute and think like, oh man, like this is actually like a real thing and a serious thing. And if I'm going to do this, and I was kind of the primary songwriter at that time. And I was like, man, if I'm going to do this, I really want to do it in a very intentional way. And I want the music to be what I want it to be. And so at the time I was really into like 80s inspired stuff. I was born in 86 and I have older siblings. And so I just grew up around a lot of that music and decided I kind of wanted to play with those types of, not even textures, but like, I kind of wanted to write in that way, big choruses, memorable melodies and things like that. And yeah, that's kind of how the sound shifted.
So Jay, whenever you came on board, how did you interject your influence into the project?
When Chris started the band and the economics of a band, it was like probably like, 7 people, and it was like trumpet, trombone, sax, keys, guitar, bass. It was just all these guys. And like when you're getting started, if you want a bunch of guys to go on the road, you kind of have to be like, hey, we're going to equal split. Everyone's buying into this, But, and like to Chris's point, I think he hit a point where like the songwriting was also very equal, where like the horn section was like very adamant that they had these like really, intricate horn parts that maybe was like, that's a bit much, but they're in it or whatever, and everyone wanted to have their say. So I think like Chris, when he took a step back, he actually went and made like kind of like a solo, more like electronic synth pop album. And then he was going to just go solo, but the band had already grown such a solid following. And I wanted to add, like in Provo, this venue Velour there, it's where like Neon Trees, Imagine Dragons, the Aces, and Span the Moth and the Flame, like all these bands started there. So there was like a really strong music community of people that just kind of came out to shows and were cheering you on. So I think in time, like Chris, realized like, and we were roommates at the time, and it's like, we always wanted to move to LA. We were both finishing school and working. And so Chris is from LA. I'm from Orange County. So at a certain point, the time aligned where we're like, hey, we always wanted to do this music thing in LA. Like, let's move to LA together and kind of do the strike, but on our own terms and like kind of with Chris's vision and all that. So that's kind of where I came in more officially. Prior to that, I was always like, whatever. I'd hung out with Chris all the time. So we would always talk about the band, but I was just like, I'd fill in here and there. I was friends with all the guys. So it became a bit more official when we moved to LA and starting writing songs like in our apartment. And yeah, just kind of writing, like Chris writes amazing songs. And I think we never really intended it to be like, we never were like, let's make an 80s whatever band. Like Chris writes amazing songs and his style, and we just kind of choose the sounds that we like, and it sort of morphed into that. And that's when we met David Maimone, who couldn't be here on the call, but he brought another whole element of production and keys and guitar. And that's like those songs that we made together, like Overtime, Miles Ahead, Nothing New. We released those during COVID, and it felt like we kind of found like an identity and a workflow with us three that felt right, and we were all really liking it. And so that's kind of where we landed during our LA time. Yeah.
Yes. And I got to tell you, when I sit back and I listen to your music and, I read about the band, I read about your fan base, which we're going to talk about a little bit more here in a second. And the new single we'll talk about more here in a second. What I hear in you guys is your favorite band's favorite band. Like there is a layer to your music that is like one part nostalgia, but also future nostalgia in a way. From TV placements to international shows, when did it start to feel like, okay, this is really happening?
And I don't know that we've ever had that moment where like, man, we've really arrived. You're kind of always searching, you're always pushing forward, And like Jay said, the economics of music are really tough. And as you get older, there are moments where you're like, man, is this really worth pursuing? Am I, just spinning my wheels and not getting anywhere? But there are little things as you go along, interactions with fans, shows, the reactions that you get when you play shows. Okay, I'll think of a specific moment. Two years ago, 2024, was kind of the first time that we had really like done a proper tour. We had kind of played various shows over the years in different parts of the country, and we had been fortunate to get a few like international residencies, but they were kind of paid private events. But we had never like booked a tour and taken the risk and gone out. And 2 summers ago we did that. We're like, let's just do it 3 weeks, East Coast, Midwest, maybe a couple spots in the South, and just see what happens. And there was a part of me, anyways. I don't know if Jay feels the same way, but I was like, man, no one is going to buy tickets to these shows, or these rooms are going to be half full. And that's going to be a pretty strong indicator. Like maybe it's time to sort of move on perhaps and put this on the back burner. But lo and behold, we went out and I think we did 15 shows or something. And they were all sold out or close to sold out. And we were going to, cities like Columbus, Ohio, where I don't know a single soul in Columbus, Ohio, And then the room's packed, and people are just like, just amped to have you there. And so something like that happens, and you're like, oh my gosh, I think maybe we need to keep going with this. And that's led to the new batch of music and this upcoming tour, and kind of kept us alive. So.
Yeah.
I think we all come from a generation that it's been kind of instilled into us where we have either or like an or versus an and. Like I can either have this creative career or I can have a traditional day job, instead of like looking at it and saying, you know what, I can have this creative career and I can have a day job. You guys have teaching gigs, families, a different kind of schedule. How has that changed your approach or influenced your approach to being in a band?
Yeah, I just had my second child last week. So
Congrats.
I got a new son. I got a 3-year-old daughter. And Chris has a teaching job. So it definitely obviously affects our schedule and logistics, and it keeps us busy. I mean, we have to work around schedules. Like with Chris, a lot of the times, like we're working weekends, we're working any school holiday. Basically, Chris is like, I'm off this day, which means like we're doing a studio day that day. And then in the summers, obviously, that's when we try to hit it with the touring, just because some more availability in the schedule. But yeah, it's tricky to balance, and we just make it work. And if luckily it's fun, you do music because it's something that's in you, and that it's fun. It's fun, and it's an outlet, and you want to share it with people, and you want to create. It's a lot of work, a lot of late nights, long hours. Like it kind of never ends, but we just make it work, and it's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So is the reward or the risk reward a little bit different than, say, if you had really gone all in on this, say, 10 years ago?
I would say so. Having a day job or having consistent income definitely changes things for sure. And I think for the better, at least for our situation. Everybody's different, and some people really go in and it pays off majorly, and that's fantastic. But there's no right or wrong way to go about it. Like you said, it's not an either or situation. You can do both. For me, I kind of like having the peace of mind to know that like this next song better be the biggest song of all time. Otherwise, it's an utter failure. It allows you some breathing room and allows you to make stuff that on your terms that you want to make. The other thing that's interesting too, just from my perspective as a teacher, I'm a high school, public school math teacher, and I spend my days with young, kids who are, trying to maybe go into the arts or do something. They're on kind of the brink of their own journey, and I don't know. I kind of think it's cool. I think it inspires me to write music that's hopefully more relatable to people, because I'm in a classroom every single day with kids and their parents and families and stuff, and I'm sort of on the ground level of just everyday living. That's the kind of music that I want to make. Ultimately, is the music that kind of connects with just people who are living their lives and wondering what comes next.
Yeah, I was going to add, like there are trade-offs. Like we could do the math and be like, hey, let's do this band full time. If we want to do that, we have to mathematically play this many shows every year. We need to do a merch drop every 3 months. Like you can do that, but sometimes you're like, is that a better life than what I have? Or like the balance? Sometimes it's like the balance is actually at least where you're at in life, which makes sense for people. So for now, we have a good workflow and a good balance. That could always change, if something sparks and there's kind of a moment that's like, I think we're all really, really in it to go for it. But we're trying to enjoy it though, trying to enjoy like every song we release and enjoy the shows and not kind of kill ourselves while we're, I don't know, going crazy like 24/7 on it.
I've had this conversation with almost every single artist that's done my show, and some are like multi-platinum selling artists. And we talk about making music in this digital era of digital distribution, social media, like outlets like Spotify and Apple Music streaming and everything along those lines. And that, alongside the pandemic, kind of rewrote the industry standard rules for the music business in a lot of ways. Like I said, several multi-platinum artists that I've had on the show also have day jobs and regular careers these days. Do you guys feel that embracing this new model of the music business really makes it more amenable for you to be able to pursue this in the way that you want to pursue it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, for me personally, again, everybody's journey is different, but for me, it's the peace of mind, and being able to do the art on your own terms is really the big thing. I don't want to get into a situation where like I'm making music out of desperation. That's probably not going to be good for me or for the music. Yeah, the world is constantly changing and shifting, and if you're in the business long enough, you just know that it's always ever changing, and you kind of just have to roll with it. It's like, all right, I gotta teach and do music. Cool, that's fine. I gotta make TikTok videos now. That's cool. Whatever. I'll do it. You gotta roll with the punches.
Dude, I'm going to tell you just for peace of mind that it's not limited to musicians because I spend way more time on TikTok than any adult male my age should spend because it is such a good promotional apparatus because it's the only free flowing algorithm now. Like it's TikTok and Instagram. Otherwise, I mean, if you're trying to push your media through Facebook, you just become another ad realistically. And hey, what has been your guys' experience with social media since being the strike?
What's one thing we're always working on? I don't know. I mean, there's all these, our label or people, they'll send you like these things are trending or whatever, but a lot of it doesn't, speak to us maybe in our age or whatever. So we just do it like how we can, like what we think is cool. Like we want to post a live clip of the show. We'll post some behind the scenes in the studio, but we could always improve and kind of like let people in more. One thing we want to work on is kind of like letting people in a little bit more, just behind the scenes. Yeah, it's something we need to work on probably, but we do what we can. And yeah.
Well, I bring it up because searching for information about you guys have a rabid fan base online that is very vocal through social media. Like, how did that come to be? Was it through just putting your nose to the grindstone and just grinding it out and building that audience organically? Or was it kind of an amalgamation between having digital presence and great live shows?
I think my hunch is that it's been consistency. I think the band's been around long enough and has put out enough music that people like that we've kind of grown a following that really cares deeply about the band and cares deeply about the music. It's kind of like the catch-22 of the one-hit wonder or the viral moment. It's kind of like the movie That Thing You Do. It's like you have this massive hit or this massive thing, this massive moment, and you amass all of these eyes and attention, and everything else that comes after kind of pales in comparison and can never really live up. And in some ways, it can be a curse to have that massive moment. So they're looking on the bright side. We haven't had like a massive smash hit, but at the same time, I think that we've been able to slowly acquire a real audience that really loves the catalog and loves all of the music and kind of hangs on every song that we put out, which is really cool. I would love to have. I would be lying to you if I told you I didn't wish that we had a smash hit. On the one good positive thing that comes out of that is that you get this really strong organic fan base.
Yeah, I think that smash hit is just moments from happening, guys, because the thing that's consistent across the board is your fans express the fact that your shows are super well known for being these euphoric experiences. What is it about your live show that sets the strike apart from some of the other bands out there right now? And I know art is a subjective thing. You can't get all competition, but what is it? What's the magic? What makes a strike live experience so euphoric?
Well, I'll say something just because during those years when I wasn't like in the strike, but I was at the shows and I would watch. One thing that I always thought about Chris is when he came out, like song one, he just like broke the ice. Like he turns it on. I don't know. Like it's kind of funny. We talk to him now. He's at the classroom, but like when he's on stage, there was something that I felt was special. Like as an outsider during those years, that he would turn on and just like bring just crazy energy. And usually, like when a band comes on, there's those first few songs where like the crowd's warming up and there's hey, scoot closer to the stage, whatever. But I felt like it was like song one. Chris was just like he was already in it. And the ice was broken and the people were up at the front of the stage and it was just like a party, like right from the get-go. So I think I just wanted to say that, like credit to Chris, because I think he does a great job at bringing that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's really nice of you. I appreciate that a lot. I think ideally it's the songs, it's the audience. It's all of the people in the room together who know and love the music, Like if you go see a few years back, I went and saw like Paul McCartney, or I went and saw like Billy Joel, and those guys are older, and they're not doing backflips off the piano or anything like that.
Right.
But their music is so amazing, and every single person in that room knows every lyric of the song. And that's really where the magic happens, is when you get just a lot of people in the room who really care about a song. And that's the goal. You can have the most insane light production, pyro, whatever, but if the songs aren't connecting with people, the magic's not there. But I'll pay the compliment back to Jay and all the guys in the band who are exceptional musicians and like masters at their craft as well. So, but yeah, I hope it's the songs. That's what I would hope for.
I think there's an element in your guys' sound as well that people are really hungry for. Like you feel a certain way whenever you listen to your music, and it is like the undercurrent of feeling euphoric, and that is as sincere as I can be with you guys. My listening habits are throwing on a set of headphones and laying in bed and kind of starting to unwind, but I throw on a set of headphones and I lay down to relax to listen to your music. I just want to get back up. It's like I can't unwind. Like I'm feeling good. I'm recharged. And how did you guys land on the sound that became the Strike? Like what brings you to the here and now?
It's a good question. I guess I've always just my own personality. There's songs for all different environments and different moods and feelings and stuff, but I've always just been drawn to music that's kind of like high energy and like optimistic, I guess is what I would say. I like music that's like joyful. Life is hard and it's difficult and it's sad enough, but it's also amazing. And you can highlight either one of those two things. I guess my disposition is to want to make music that highlights the amazing parts of life and kind of makes them feel transcendent or kind of otherworldly, something that's mundane, it's really not mundane. The things that we do every single day are kind of amazing. People take their lives for granted, but really their lives are amazing. People are incredible. So I want the music to reflect.
That was beautifully said.
Well, the week that we're recording this, two major things are occurring. Now, this episode is going to drop after they've occurred, but I do want to talk about them a little bit. First and foremost, you just announced the No Time to Waste tour taking place this summer and a brand new single dropping this week called Famous. What can fans expect from the No Time to Waste tour this summer?
Oh, well, we're super excited to put out some new music. Finally, it just takes time, and we work a lot at it, and we're just excited that Famous is done. And we call it No Time to Waste tour. And I guess sneak peek, the next song we're releasing is called No Time to Waste, if I can drop that. And we have a couple more that are really close to being done. And so I think we're excited to revisit some of the cities that we've been before that kind of Chris talked about. Like it was just magical, like that tour a few years ago where we went to cities we'd never played before and people knew all the words, sold out. It was just honestly one of the most memorable tours. So stoked to go back to those cities. I'm playing a couple new cities. I don't think we've played in Indianapolis or St. Louis. There's a couple new ones for us. So hopefully find some new friends, meet some new fans there. And then ultimately play some new songs, like just keep the party going, bring some new music, play some new rooms, and we're just looking forward to it. I mean, it's always a good time. It's a lot of work, but to put it all together, but we're happy that we finally announced and that things are moving. So we're just really excited to get on the road this summer.
Yeah, new music, some headlining in some new spots that we've never played in before. Some spots we've played in. We played last summer with the Fray. We were on tour with them as direct support. And so we hit a few of those, but we haven't headlined there, played to like our audience. So yeah, I guess that's what they can expect. Some new songs and some new spots and just the same old energy and the same party. Yeah.
Well, let's land on the current single, Famous. I got to listen to it, as I told you guys, before this session got recorded, and I listened to it like 5 times in a row, and I loved it. And I got to tell you, it sounds like if a John Hughes movie that came out in 1985 was made today, this song would be the theme song to that movie, or at least a good montage sequence in that movie. It has a feel-good sound, but it asks a deeper question. What do you want to be known for? Why was this the right song to put out right now?
Yeah, I mean, we live in an age where a lot of people have the ability to get attention, and you can make a video, and then the next day, a million people know who you are, and it's the first time ever in the history of the world that people have had access to celebrity so quickly. And so I think it's socially relevant for that reason. Obviously, being as someone who's in a band who's been pursuing music for many years, success in music, success in the arts is synonymous with celebrity. You that is the goal, is to be well known, or at least for the music to be well known. And so when you're pursuing it, sometimes every once in a while you get a taste of it. We're not the biggest band in the world, but we go to shows and people want to take pictures with us and they want to have us autograph things and things like that. And then you see the numbers grow on your social media and your Spotify, and oh man, we're getting more recognition, and that's kind of like, it can be an addictive feeling, to see the growth. But I guess as I've gotten older and the longer I've been in this game, I kind of have to step back and ask myself, like, man, what do I really want to be known for? Do I want to be known because I'm like a musician, or what do I want my legacy to be as a human being? And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being well known for a talent, or like doing music or acting or whatever. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. My hope is that at least in the people in my direct circles and the people who I care most about, my family and friends and things like that, the students who I teach and the people in my community, it's like, okay, yeah, he was in a band. He had good music. I hope they think that for sure. But beyond that, I hope that they think that, like, I was somebody who gave back to them and showed up in a meaningful way for them. And that's what I really hope my legacy to be. I got married a couple years ago, and Jay's got kids, and that changes your perspective on life. Suddenly there are things that are more important than music. As a younger guy, I should say, music was everything to me. It was the only thing I pursued, and it was, my world kind of orbited around how well the band was doing at any given time. If you're married, if you have a kid, it's like, oh my gosh, these things are way more important than music. And I think I mentioned this in an article recently, but I think it's true that if there aren't things that are more important than music, then there's nothing to write music about. Because, like I was mentioning earlier, music is about life and about the people that you love and your experience. So, yeah, that was kind of the thinking behind the lyrics of Famous.
I love that. So is there a full album of material that is going to be dropping at some point in time, or are you guys just going to be trickling out singles? What's the release strategy, if you're okay with sharing it?
We're going to do singles every 5-6 weeks or so. And then the goal is to, it'll culminate into an album in the fall, Chris?
Well, yeah, hopefully that's the goal.
Hey, we're
good, because I want the Strike on vinyl, like, and the fall is about perfect time for me, man. I'm a vinyl nerd, and usually about September, October is when I want those needle drops to happen, and then I go back to streaming once the weather warms back up. But we
got to deliver for you.
I was going to say earlier, when you asked, like, if there's like a moment where you felt like, hey, we might have something here. But my first thought was when we pressed vinyl for like our first time. We didn't have, like, now we do an online distribution store that helps us fulfill the orders. But we ordered, I don't know what, like 700 vinyl or something, just to my house, and we're like, oh, let's see how it goes. And then we sold it out in, like, I don't know, less than 3 days. And then I'm like, I called Chris and David. I'm like, you guys, I need your help because I'm not packaging all of these and taking them to the post office. So we
That's
spent
insane.
like 2 full days packing them up. And then I did like, I would do like a couple shipments, a day. And then the next day, cause I'm going over there with like my cart of vinyl. So for me, that was like also kind of a moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, like these people, like they're really liking connecting with the music. And that was a cool moment, I think, for us also. It was like seeing how diehard people were for the vinyl. So we just, by the way, we've been out for a while, but we put in a new order. So we'll have more vinyl. We'll get you some vinyl for the fall. We'll get a new one going. So
Heck yeah. Well, I mean, putting the rock star hat on, I want to ask you both, where do you see the band 2 years from now? Let's say the album drops in the fall. Where do you see the Strike 2 years from now?
It's a really good question. Something that we probably should think about more. Yeah,
I think just if we're being transparent, like the band, we're so grateful for our fans. Like you said, they're just super loyal. And sometimes it feels like we are actually pretty close. Like if we wanted to quit our jobs and like, let's just do the band. I talked about this trade-offs earlier. Like, it's like, is that the best for our lifestyle? But I think for me, if with another album and kind of doing some more touring and just connecting the dots a little bit more, this tour, we're fortunate to, we're moving into some bigger rooms. You kind of go out, you test the waters. We played some cities, we did some 400, 500 rooms, pulled those out. So it's like, okay, we'd love to have you back. Let's do the 800 room. So realistically, if our goal is to grow it on a level to where we can have the budget to like, let's bring the production, let's level up everything. Everyone can earn a living, where they don't have to stress about their other jobs and freelance and their side jobs. So I think just if we could keep releasing music, connecting with people, growing it, and getting to a level to where there's just a little bit more bigger rooms, kind of just a little bit more momentum. I think the goal would be to, kind of do it, just take the leap and go for it.
Yeah.
A bit more.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the ideal, is that bigger rooms, more streaming, more recognition, more eyeballs, But I guess from my standpoint, I love music. I love writing music. I love making music. It's my hobby. It's like my passion. I guess if I wasn't doing the band, I'd be making music regardless. So it's just something that's baked into my life. It's just something I do, and something that Jay does. Like Jay said, it's kind of just in you. And so I'll be making music, and whether people are listening or not, hopefully more people are listening.
Yeah, I think either way, we would ideally have more free time to make more music would be the goal.
Yeah.
I love it. And I, just to interject personal opinion, and I'm not just, kissing up here or anything, but I honestly think the best is yet to come with you guys.
Thanks.
Have thoroughly enjoyed taking in your catalog recently, and I'm really excited for what's coming next. My closing question, I ask this of every single guest that does my show. You guys can answer one at a time, and it can kind of be loaded, but just through your experience and what you're going through right now, what's your advice for making the world a better place tomorrow than what it is today through the eyes of the Strike? I
guess I would say something that I would tell my students if I were giving them advice on how to make the world a better place. I would say, this is something I have told my students before, but as you're kind of going through life, just certain things kind of call out to you. When I was a kid, for whatever reason, music was just something that called out to me. It's like I didn't even choose it. It just kind of reaches out and just intrigues you endlessly. And I think everybody has that experience, whether that's whatever it is, And when something like that happens, I think you owe it to yourself to pursue it on some level. Now, that doesn't mean that, you're going to quit your day job and become a rock star necessarily, but I think if you pursue it honestly and earnestly, I think something good will come of it, for sure. Whether you're going to make millions of dollars doing it, I can't promise you that. But I tell my students, nothing bad's going to happen if you reach out and kind of, when that thing reaches out to you and you reach back out at it. then I think something good's going to happen.
I think of more and more in the micro, I guess, like in my local, like what I can control around me. I think of being supportive, like a good person. I think of like why I got into music in the first place, like back when I'm a teenager. Like it was all about community. It was about going to your friends' shows. It was about, comforting people through hard times, showing up to your friend's show and cheering them on. Like I think just being like a positive force, like bringing positive energy, complimenting people. Like I think all that stuff is just, and like showing up in people's time of need. Ideally with music, hopefully there's an aspect of that reaches people and like heals them. And we're fortunate, a lot of fans write like super kind emails about that. So on one level, yeah, I hope the music can sort of make the world a better place through reaching people. But I think for me and advice to people is just on the micro. Like I think people do walk around like having hard days, like just unhappy. A lot of people are depressed and anxious and stressed. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. The cost of living, inflation, like there's so much to complain about and there's so much like hardship right now. And I think just being someone that is looking for those opportunities to build, like, how can I help this person that's across the street in my community, my neighbor, my church, whatever it is, my friend network, my other musicians in the community, like just building and showing up.
I love that. And I tell you what, guys, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I have enjoyed getting to know your band. Ladies and gentlemen, check out The Strike. Make sure you give them a follow on all social media platforms. Famous dropped March 20th. Go check it out and prove me wrong. It is the perfect soundtrack for a 1985 John Hughes movie if it was made in 2026. It is future nostalgia. I absolutely love this. Chris, Jay, thank you guys so much for doing the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
I tell you what, like as things drop, feel free to reach out to your friend Mike because I'd love to have you guys back on. The world's a much better place with you guys in it.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much.